You're very welcome back to Nationwide. To many tourists, Ireland conjures up stereotypical images of green fields, thatched cottages and ruined castles. But actually, quite a large part of the Irish landmass is not visible to the naked eye because it's out there under the sea. The INFOMAR project is trying to change all that, and our reporter Will Goodbody travelled to Port Oriel in County Louth to find out more.
We know what Ireland looks like from the air, from the land and from the sea, but most of us know little about what it looks like under the water. That's something the INFOMAR project is trying to change. It's a joint venture between the Marine Institute and the Geological Survey of Ireland, funded by the Department of Communications, Energy and Natural Resources.
The essence of the project is to go and map our offshore territorial waters on behalf of Ireland. Irish people in the main tend to look upon Ireland as being the dry bit on which they all exist, and it's our job to show them that there is a wet bit that is potentially 10 times the surface area of the land area. And we have to show them firstly that it's there, make it relevant and show them that there is potential out there. The INFOMAR project is essentially looking at 26 bays and 3 priority areas, one being in the east coast, one being in the south and one being in the southwest. They were chosen for various different reasons, be it that for commercial reasons, because of the priority ports, because of fish habitat, but quite a lot of reasons.
INFOMAR is the latest phase of a long-term seabed mapping project which began in 1996 with the Offshore Continental Shelf Survey. It was later followed by the Irish National Seabed Survey. The difference between these earlier phases and the current one is that INFOMAR is focused on inshore areas closest to land.
The end of 2015 will be the end of this particular phase when we'll have completed those 26 bays and those 3 priority areas, and then we will go on to the remainder of the 125,000 square kilometres that's left.
INFOMAR has a fleet of 5 boats of different sizes to handle the varying depths and locations. Each is equipped with multi-beam sonar, which uses sound waves to measure depths of the sea floor accurate to centimetres. Data which is then turned into maps and 3D images.
We got some hazards out to our left, so we can't really push in much further out to our port side.
Other special equipment also identifies what the seabed is made of, while the vessels use satellite global positioning to ensure every square metre is covered.
My role is just to keep all the survey systems running and working and make sure the data is being collected as we're going along and doing the job. So as you can see on the screens that we're constantly recording data. Each line we're going up and down, keeping on our own coverage sometimes if it gets a bit shallow. And we're just trying to collect as much data as we can in a safe environment as well. It's been excellent. It's an exciting job because you're working in the shallows, there's rocks coming up and you can get excited about certain areas, especially when certain uncharted rocks that you see are coming up and you're like, this isn't on any map here whatsoever, and you're there, you find it and you're like mapping it out, and it can be quite exciting at the best of times. And it's long days, it's hard work, but it's all worthwhile in the end.
For the skippers who must carefully navigate the boats close to rocks, moorings, pier walls and other vessels, it's a challenging task.
If it's a rocky area, we're a little bit hesitant and we're very cautious. If it's a sandy one, we tend to go a little bit shallower than we would if it was rocky. Our biggest hazard at the moment, doing any of the surveying, especially on the west coast where we've just come from, is the lobster pots. The lobster pots we've got to watch out for. We're trying to get our coverage at maximum efficiency, and at the same time looking out for these lobster pots, and sometimes their lines are running quite long instead of running deep, so we've got to watch out that we don't foul up on any of their lines.
And sometimes it's objects that they chart for the first time which pose the greatest dangers.
This particular spot is one of those places where, as we came out of the harbour here, we found a wreck, and then further down the coast here we picked up another one as well. So for us, from a surveying point of view, we picked up some really valuable information here.
Once the information is gathered, it's transferred to the bigger vessels where it's processed by high-powered computers on board.
My job then as a data processor involved with quality control is loading up the data taken from the previous day, making sure that it is indeed up to scratch, and also analysing any features that we might find, for instance a wreck or a shoal that isn't on the charts. What we're trying to do is get a last word on the depths around the coast of Ireland. Many areas haven't been charted for 100 and 150 years, so it's updating those charts.
And over the years there have been some interesting findings.
There's been a couple of highlights. Surveying the Lusitania was quite an interesting experience for myself personally. It's obviously a very historic wreck. It's also the site of a major incident in history, contributed towards the start of the American involvement in the First World War. Also, it is quite interesting to look at the geological features appearing on the seabed. We're the first people that have ever seen them in that kind of detail. It's very nice to be able to take them and present them back to experts in the office, but also the public in general.
You can see the green, these are all the lines that the photos actually run.
Back on dry land, staff at the Geological Survey of Ireland offices in Dublin further clean and process the data. It's then made freely available as 3D visualisations, maps, web pages and an app which even lists detailed information about interesting diving spots.
You've always been strong in methodology and structure, Peter.
Back on the boats where the survey crews live and work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, the data collection will continue until every last square metre is mapped.
We're on Channel 8.
The project costs €3 million a year, but those behind it say it's worth every cent.
PricewaterhouseCoopers did an independent report on the return on investment, and the return on investment showed that for every euro spent, there's a return to the Irish taxpayer of 4 to 5 times that single euro spent, in a multiplier effect across all of the various resources.
And the work being carried out by the INFOMAR project has the potential to open up new frontiers in our knowledge of the territory around our coastline. And it's certainly a project that we'd like to support.